Let's take one example of landfilling. Landfill process or landfilling guidelines, sanitary landfilling guideline that CPCB has is an excellent piece of document. But can we do the same thing for a city which is generating just 3 tons a day, generating 5 tons a day, even 50 tons a day? These are so expensive, the way it is designed, that some of these small cities are unlikely to do it, and some people who have done it, they have done it in a very shabby manner. So we need to again innovate as a community, that can we think of some alternatives of this landfilling procedure till some of these municipal council and corporation become big enough to afford all those scientific landfill design which CPCB has. In processing, again, as I said, one size doesn't fit all. So if you are talking about smaller cities, medium-sized cities, what are the technology sets which become very important and which could be supported? And when we say supported, we mean that as a community of practices, the scientific community, academic community, practitioners here, and all those people who are consultant or implementing organizations, they need to put in their own thoughts that can we do it the same way everywhere? And if you need to do it, what are those options that we can do? Opportunity to innovate is also in terms of what is the kind of jobs that we can create. This is a sector where informal sector jobs are plenty. We have learned some from some papers which have come in ADB and World Bank documents, where it says that in India almost about 2.5 million people work in unorganized sector in solid waste management. But the moment we are thinking of improving it in a way that it will become good for all of us, can we say in a structured fashion, are we creating some real good green jobs which is liked by people? People should be willing to go in that sector. People need to be trained, and many implementing agencies are actually looking for good people to come and join them. Right now they are in the process of training. I don't see too much of academic organization doing that kind of training. So that's another area of innovation. Decentralized thinking for smaller cities is something which we need to debate and again come to some conclusion. So lastly, before all the other panelists speak, I thought I'll just flag out some of the major issues and questions that we wanted to address in this two days workshop. One is that can the country work with same rules right now, municipal solid waste rules that we have, or can we do little bit of changes? I understand there is some revision which is being discussed, but those revisions, anything and everything which is coming, can we contribute from this community here, that what are those changes which we want to do? And I give you one example. Most of the municipal solid waste projects in our country, while implementation, most of the implementing agencies have faced a big problem of odor, a smell problem. And they have been installed mainly because of this reason. Of course, there could be some other minor reasons, but mostly it's the smell and odor problem. But if you look at MSW rules, all the gases that we monitor, or particulate matter that we monitor, they do not smell. So we need to include some of those parameters which smell in our rules. So that's the kind of reform which should come in our rules as such. Even the standards which we have prescribed for composting, the standard which we have prescribed for incineration need to be looked at again as we talk about smaller size and big size. We need to again document what are the major successes that we have had, either as a community here in our own country but elsewhere as well. WTRT as a community here is actually to fill that gap, all the successes and the stories that we have had from different countries. And last 2 points are, can we derive the real costs? There are all kind of varieties of financial structures of municipal solid waste projects. What are the real costs? And if those real costs are being met, who is going to pay and how it is going to be paid? And the last one I would say is, should we think of doing incremental improvement in municipal solid waste management right now, or should we do leapfrogging? And if we need to do leapfrog, then of course we need to be sure where we are landing. And that's what we would want to debate in this 2 days brainstorming. And thank you very much for joining us. We are very happy that we have had all types of people who have been able to come and participate. And thank you very much. Welcome all of you in this workshop. And let's see, we have an intense discussion on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your thought-provoking speech on MSW management system and for the 2 days workshop which we will be discussing. And now I invite Dr. Sukumar Devota, who is one of the eminent personalities in the field of environmental science and technology in India, and he was also our former director who gave very important contribution in our institute. Dr. Sukumar Devota, please.
Thank you, Sunil. Good morning to you all, members on the dais, off the dais, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here as a part of this workshop, which is just close to the 6-month-old activity we had in Mumbai. The one thing I just wanted to congratulate NIRI now is that I'm not officially part of NIRI. I can speak as an outsider, that I would like to congratulate NIRI for its effort on solid waste management. Only when I went to NIRI, I realized how much we neglect waste in our research. Because it's a dirty area, so nobody wants to do research in a dirty area. You know, they would like to do on very modern lab with the modern chemicals and things like that, but when it comes to trash, we treat it as a trash. So the only thing I found was the expertise and the dedication. It's not just the expertise, but also the dedication of the scientists at NIRI, including the age-old Mr. V.G. Bide in the research areas, and then down to Sunil Kumar now. And so that's something which I'm proud of. And the persuasion, you know, they keep on persuading. We know that municipal solid waste management rules is there, and in many cases, India has no dearth of rules. Only thing is we violate it left and right, and it's very poorly implemented. And I was a part of the Supreme Court Monitoring Committee on Hazardous Waste Management Rule, and therefore I had to travel all over India. And in that period, I also saw the municipal solid waste management of the cities. And now I live in one of the dirtiest places, that is Chennai. And you can see trash all over Chennai, even on the banks of the river, and polluting not only the river, but also the atmosphere. It's burnt. So there are many issues. Although we have a rule which is more than 13 years old, we are unable to implement it. So we have to do a very sincere soul searching. And if you look at the numbers, it's very staggering that we are looking at numbers of something like 55 million tons of just municipal solid waste. And I always say that then similarly 38 billion liters of sewage. These numbers are what is collected. And if you go just outside the city limits, there are numbers which are not collected. You know, if you take, I live in a society where water goes treated and goes into the river, but that is not collected and treated because it is not connected to the sewer. And therefore, if you look at the numbers, you know, coming out of reports and the numbers, real numbers which are likely to be, there is a huge disconnect because of the rapid urbanization. You go to any, now I do a lot of review of projects in Maharashtra, therefore I know what is the reality between the government number and the real number. And therefore, these numbers are huge, and there is a potential, and if you look at the potential, it is quite, again, staggering. The number, according to the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, MNRE, is about 1,700 megawatts potential just from urban waste, and it's including 225 from sewage. And we are only realizing about 2% of that potential. And therefore, there is a huge potential. While the technologies are there, many technologies are there, we seem to focus only on incineration, which is the most difficult one because of the various reasons which Dr. Rakesh Kumar mentioned. But one of the reasons is that even if you look at some of the data presented by NIRI and CPCB and other states, there is a wide variation in the characteristics between two agencies. So because solid waste is always difficult to handle in terms of sampling and analysis, and it varies with season to season. And so you will find that moisture is one major variable, and the organic content is another major variable which will determine the technology. And if you look at these two parameters, there is a wide variation in the reports, in the analysis. Therefore, you tend to choose technology which is sensitive to these two. Always, if you take combustion, you need less moisture, high organic combustion. But if the moisture is there, then you have to spend more fuel. Then the unit, the municipality will say, we don't have money to co-fuel, along with solid waste. Therefore, the system fails. And likewise, there are other systems we are not exploring much, like biochemical conversion, then methanation, and then landfill gas recovery, which is very little is done. We tried our best to do something on landfill gas recovery from municipal solid waste. There is a huge potential because they are already there. They are already there, and it is. If you go there, you can feel the methane emitting on the landfills, but we are not utilizing it. And there are possibly much more sophisticated, like pyrolysis, which we rarely look at it except from scientific studies. And therefore, we need to look at the sensitivity of the choice of technology to the characteristics of the municipal solid waste. This is where I think n number of attempts have been made, and most of them have failed. Even in the city I lived, Pune, they had 10, 15 years ago an incineration plant, but it never operated, purely because of the mismatch between the characteristics and the requirement of the technology. We tend to think that whatever works in Europe or in US or Japan, it will work in India. Then we have to work towards meeting the requirement of this. So do we have that? The fundamental failure is the segregation of the source. As long as there is no political will and the commitment of the people involved, this can never work. So we have to somehow educate people about the need for segregation at source, and also take it as a mandatory policy. If you take MSW 2000 rules, the biggest failure in the implementation is the segregation at stores. It just, everything goes to the landfill, and therefore landfill becomes a big menace. And if you come to Chennai, there will be at least every week, there will be 3-4 write-up about the same spot regarding burning, regarding the bird menace, or the local area people objecting, stopping this. And this happened in Pune also, in Maharashtra. People in the village, they said, so the NIMBY is going to be a major problem. So you need to reduce this load in the MSW landfills by appropriately choosing a technology which will be not only solve the problem of space, the odor, the menace of the health, because we never look at, whenever we talk about techno-economics, we don't look at hidden costs and externalities. We are looking at only what is going in, what is coming out. If you start calculating the co-benefits you get, because you're getting power, you're reducing the land, there is a better health around the city, all these things, if you put it, you will find that economics works quite in favor of these technologies. But the institutes involved, they look at only the power generated versus the money spent. This is something, again, as scientific forum, we should convince the policymakers, don't just be blindfolded and or having blinkers and think only about input, what output, but think about external benefits and co-benefits. So we have to educate the policymakers on co-benefits, and likewise we have to educate the people that by minimizing this, we are going to, and doing it properly, scientifically, we are going to minimize the other issues like odor and the space and coming to their area. And this is it's a real challenge. I'm saying this because we have seen many phases of trials, many phases of attempts, and And we keep doing it. And I'm happy to see some successful models, but why they cannot be replicated? Why you cannot replicate introduce other technologies? This is something this forum has to address and come out. The choice of the technology and the sensitivity of the technology with respect to success on the parameters which can vary, it should be addressed. If you take only as a combustion, then if you are not going to control this sensitive window, then it's going to fail. We know that, but still we want to follow. And if so, then what are the other precautions to be taken? Or what are the measures, in terms of managerial measures to be taken to meet that tight window? These are not addressed, and then therefore our technology will continue to fail. And we will be blamed, the scientists will be blamed that you fellows cannot solve the problem. That's what they will say. It's very easy for therefore, as a scientific community, we have a responsibility to analyze the sensitivity of the technologies we adopt and implement that with some monitoring, because